What is going on? What is good? It is the Crooked Commish, and we are back in the clubhouse, the Chicago Clubhouse Network here. It's fantasy time, guys. We're going to talk some fantasy football here. So it's not going to be all Bears talk, just to warn you guys that are Bears fans that are used to us here at the clubhouse, just focusing on the Chicago Bears. But tonight, being that we're talking fantasy football, tonight we are going to focus on the NFC West and talk about the teams in that division. We'll look over what they did on free agency, kind of give our opinions on whether we think they'll be better, improve from what they did last year, or are they going to take a step back and stuff. So, and then after that, we'll kind of poke into the draft as well and kind of see what we think, not only what their teams will do, but what they think their opponents will do within the division. Because as much as you want to focus on what your team does in the draft, it is always good to kind of look at what your neighbors are doing around you and seeing what kind of pieces they're picking up so you know what to look forward to when it comes time to play them 2 times out of the year. So last week we had, if you're over with us, JD from Heart to Start podcast there to talk the free agency in football. And then we also had Chicago Joe coming
That
on.
ain't even good enough. Come on, Joe.
Yep. Good old Joe was here giving us his handicaps, talking about how he goes about picking games and whatnot. And sometimes when those picks don't come through, you may be eager to go ahead and hit him up and say, what the hell happened there, Joe? But we got to remember there's good days and bad days when it comes to betting, especially if we're taking underdogs and whatnot. So go ahead and check out Let's Win Together to get all of Joe's picks that he gives out for free each and every day. So, but tonight we are going to bring in and talk with JD's co-host, if you want that. Gin or Win Sports. I see I already messed it up. Gin Network or Gin Sports. I'll bring them on here and we'll get it corrected and talk fantasy football. Like I said, we got Bogey from the same network as well. And we're going to break down his favorite team, the 49ers, along with the Mouth from the Bay. Our co-host is back. He's also a Niners fan, so he's going to be eager to talk about all the devastation that happened with his organization. So let's go ahead and get it kicked off and get these guys in here. But before we can do that, you know what's next. And we are back and ready to go here at the clubhouse. Thank you for everyone who is joining us and hanging out here at the clubhouse. Tell you guys, the more that we have in here, the bigger the clubhouse gets, the funner it is. So drop your questions in the chat. We'd love to interact with you guys. Of course, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already and share us to any other fantasy football fans out there. Your league mates may want to hear what we have to say, even though you may not want them to hear what we have to say. So, but for you guys that have already joined us and hit the thumbs up, we do appreciate you and we do like you, and we'd like you to hang out a bit more as we get into it here. So let me go ahead and bring in my co-host. First time back this year. It's been a while, so he's may have a lot to say because the Mouth, of course, the Mouth from the Bay. Welcome him back, guys.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Good to be back. Yeah, I had to take a little bit of time off of real life. That shit sucks, but back now. So let's get it.
Let's go. It happens. It happens. Ginger Ninja, what is up? I see you're a Vikings fan, so thank you for go ahead and putting up with us over here at the network. So now let's go ahead and get in our other two guests in here from Gen Wealth. I believe I may have said it right this time. So, but if not, like I said, make sure you correct my ass because I'm crooked and, it's just in my blood to be this way. So first, let's go ahead and get Lee in here from Gen Wealth. Lee, what's going on?
Salute, crooked.
What's going on? Thank you very much for joining us.
Well,
welcome to the Clubhouse, the Chicago Clubhouse.
Thank you.
So I got it right the second time, right? Gen Wealth?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Got it right.
All right. So last but not least, let's go ahead and get in your co-host as well, Bogey from Gen Wealth. He is also from the Bay, so the Mouth and Bogey may be kind of bonding here on this podcast, reminiscing about good old days when they were, doing the gangbang stuff or bang bang stuff over there. In the Bay
Easy
Area.
killer. This fucking guy.
I know that's my bad. I know that some people might think that was
Yeah, that's a little ditty-ish. That was a little ditty-ish, fuckers.
So anyways, guys, Bogey, Lee, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us here at the Clubhouse.
Pleasure to be here. San Jose in the building. What's happening?
Yeah.
We got the Let's go. You're probably going to hear a lot of outbursts like that. I ain't gonna lie.
We have JD and California stand up. And then Lee, looks like we have some friends of yours jumping in.
That's the guys from the channel.
Yeah.
Shout out to thank you for joining us, guys. You guys are awesome. So before we get into it and kind of talk about the NFC West and look over that division, kind of go over what each team did and what we think they might do in this year's coming up draft. I wanted to ask you guys, Bogey, are you born and raised from San Jose? How did you become a 49ers fan? Or, did something else happen to,
To make a long story longer, born and raised in San Jose. And my folks my pops came in the mid 70s from the islands to Frisco. And then, they didn't move until I was born type of shit. So, I was the first generation born Americana, But so it was in my blood because, they came in 77, the city's in shambles. You got the Zodiac Killer, all kind of shit. Then they draft a little old guy named Joe Montana, And it turned that whole city around for real though. Once the city started winning, all of a sudden it was just like, changed the whole game. Like it for real though, because before that, Frisco was like a shitty place. For real. I mean, it still was. There's a good.
It has its moments.
Every city, but it definitely unified the city in the '80s when the Niners was the team of the '80s. Team of the decade. But like I said, I was born in '84, so the Niners I grew up with, it was that I remember watching this shit. It was definitely the lefty. Shout out to Steve Young. And I grew up in the east side of San Jose. And Steve Young legit lived in the Silver Creek Country Club. So back then, see nowadays up in this area, you got all kind of grocery stores and woo-wops there. But before he used to have to come down to the flatlands, to the peasants with us and go to the grocery store. I used to see him at the same grocery store. I'm wondering at least a dozen times. And he was very nice every time. And I always came up and fanned out as a kid every time. And my mom would, he's so handsome. And my dad was like, oh, he's all right. And my dad was always a Joe Montana guy. Like he even became like a fucking partial Chiefs fan for that one little moment in time. You know what I mean? It was just, what I'm saying? But, it's kind of one of those things like, listen, I got love for him still. You know what I mean? That much that, he became the second team. I remember my dad tried to go, he was like, oh, yeah, I like the Raiders now, Jerry Rice, Jay. And I was like, fuck no, never. Drew the line there. You feel me, right, Mouth?
Can't be crossing lines like that shit. That's fucking blasphemy.
Once Jerry Rice went up there, he was the op.
He was fucking, you get kicked out the family for that shit.
Yeah, you ain't right.
Hey, I tell you what, though,
Jerry Rice went
I
there,
hear
man.
Jerry Rice. You better not invite him to no barbecue events and stuff like that. Because he's gonna be going home with your auntie.
We'll
Apparently,
see.
he likes to
Jerry
take home
Rice,
ants.
it was a little longer cup of tea. You feel me? Like maybe a couple cups of coffee. You know what I mean? That he spent with the Raiders. You know, and he got to the Super Bowl but lost. See, and that's what it feels like. Because when you with the Niners and Jerry Rice, we go and we don't lose. You know what I mean? Back in 2012 when we lost to the Ravens, when we was driving, I was like, okay, here we go. This is what we do. Here it comes. And then when it didn't happen, it's like, oh, this is new.
Yeah.
Now it's becoming three Super Bowl losses later, but still very, very sad. I don't want to sound like one of those fans that's very ungrateful because I do fully understand how hard it is to get there, and I'm also not delusional like these Cowboys or Raider fans who say it's their year every year. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for at least not being a complete homer and being completely delusional. So, Lee, I wanted to ask real quick. It looks like you are a Chargers fan, so you're a fan of the AFC West, a member there. Definitely have you.
I don't know about a fan of the AFC West, but definitely the Chargers.
Well,
but
he'll go off on the mother team.
On our channel, I'm surrounded by all 49ers. I got Bogey, I got JD, and I got Steamboat. So I got the love for the 49ers, but I hear it all.
So are you also from California and whatnot?
I was
now you don't hear his accent. Get in the car.
You can
Boston.
Okay.
Yeah,
so, I was from the East Coast.
Okay. And then how did the Chargers get thrown on you? How did you become a fan of them?
My father was a Chargers fan.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Well,
and then I happened to, growing up, I used to love Phillip Rivers, and that was it. So, game over.
Okay. Yeah. You like to have a big family like him too? 17 kids?
I'm awesome.
Holy shit.
Just give me one.
I'm about a fourth of the way. I'm on your ass, Phillip Rivers. Pause.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to other things instead of Phillip Rivers' ass and stuff. So.
Oh my God.
Hell no. To the no. Hell to the no.
Yeah, we're going to skip on that one. So, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. The NFC West, we have the 49ers, we have the Arizona Cardinals, we have the Rams, and then we have the Seahawks there. Out of those four there, who would you say won the free agency between the teams in that division and stuff? Or who do you Bones, it looks like you're eager to answer. Go ahead.
The Rams, the Hollywood Rams.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Hollywood Rams, because they're the Hollywood Rams for a reason. You have to have stars on it, and they're like, all right, fuck it, just give me Devontae Adams. Like, oh, why don't you?
Well, not only did Devontae,
I think that Stafford was the win. Getting back Stafford was huge. If they would have lost Stafford, that would have been they would have been done like the worst. But getting Stafford back was huge.
Yeah, Stafford and Adams was a huge boost to that team. I don't see anyone beating them. If it is, they got to beat themselves.
Okay, do you think they still have a good enough defensive unit?
Yeah, they're young as fuck on defense.
I think that defense.
They're able to beat all these guys right now on offense. And the reason they're locking down Stafford right now is because we're only about one more year of good production away from getting paid. You feel me?
Yeah, I did find it quite interesting.
Puka means like smokers. Where I'm from, I was like, in my hometown, Puka means they're on that Puka. You feel me?
Yeah.
Shout out to Puka though, bro.
Yeah, I mean, he gave up his number too. He gave up his number to Devontae real quick. He's like, "You can go ahead and have number 17, sir." Yeah, no,
and
for sure.
Said came out today that said he's gonna play until he's 30 years old.
Yeah, I heard that.
His plan is to try to only play till 30. He said he wants 30. Yeah. Then he wants to do his Phillip Rivers thing and have hella kids. Yeah. No, but see, here's the thing though with the Pookster. You know what I mean? That conversation was probably like Devontae's like, look, bro, I'm 17. He's like, okay, word. And he's like, look, kid, you only make 1.4 million. I got you. Because when you switch numbers, you got to try the existing jerseys out.
Yeah, I got to do something.
Yeah, so Devontae's like, I got it, man. Don't even trip. You know what I mean?
I got some Taco Bell money somewhere. Let me see. I got some Taco Bell money right here somewhere. Yeah. Go throw some dollars at this motherfucker.
My sponsor will take care of that.
I got some hot sauce money on this. Let me go put that sausage verde fucking sauce.
They give you the whole bag of the hot sauce too. They're not. Shout out to
I will agree with Mouth for sure. I think the biggest one is being able to keep Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Because the beginning part of it, they told him, like, go ahead and seek a trade. Go ahead and.
That was wild. And
they found out real quick that there was a lot out there for him, until where they're like,
Hey, you remember they tried to fuck around about if we move on without Stafford, we're okay with Jimmy G. You know that was a lie. You know what I mean?
I thought that it would have been more believable to say Stetson Bennett.
Exactly, right?
I mean, and that would have been a stretch too. But at least if you said Stetson Bennett, you'd be like, okay, well, at least the guy's like younger, somewhat, at least fresher.
He's also like his mentals is not there, unfortunately. Shout out to the kid. Hopefully he gets it together. I think it was like alcoholism too, or something like that. There was all kind of stuff in the mix. That's kind of why he had a failure to launch. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So, all right. Well, then after the Rams, would you say the Cardinals had the next best one, or would you just give it to the Seahawks of getting Sam Darnold?
Seattle would say.
I would say Seattle.
I'd say Seattle.
They kind of re-up. So.
I mean,
with Cooper Kupp,
they were able to get a bunch of picks. You know what I mean? Like, they got a second round for DK. That was amazing.
Yeah, that's a big trade for that one.
Right? Good for them. Then they get a third for Geno. And then they bring in Darnold for essentially what they would have paid Geno. You know what I mean? And he's younger. And coming off the 14-3 campaign, essentially on a 2-year deal that's really a glorified 1-year deal. Seahawks is doing their thing because they're playing with house money at this point, where it's like, okay, bro can maybe play well and surprise us, or if he doesn't, he's going to secure us a high pick, because that's what Sam Darnold is actually known for as a starter. I refuse to. The one-off year with the Vikings, that's an anomaly. If you ask me, that's an outlier.
Do you think Cooper Kupp Do you think Cooper Kupp is a valuable like? Where do you see him getting picked in redraft leagues? Like, is he someone that's in the gets to the late rounds, like the 9s and 10s, or does he still go in the mid rounds?
I'd say between like 7 and 9.
Yeah, I'd say 7. Yeah.
Yeah, someone's going to reach on it. That's because of the name, and they're going to think that he's going to be different. Because he's in Seattle now or something like that. So someone will reach because he's still a name, and they'll think that he's a Cooper Kupp from like 4 or 5 years ago. But
I think
that a later rounds is definitely somewhere he'd be.
You gotta get the name.
That would be awesome to get him in like WR4 range. You know what I mean? Like in a single QB league, and maybe he's like a 9, like an 8 through 10, maybe. That would be awesome. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, somebody's gonna reach up on him. Here's my thing. They got Gary Kubiak's son over there, Clint Kubiak now. So they're definitely going to enforce the run, and then Kupp's good at blocking. So but I also hate this spot that Kupp is at, because I feel like it's going to hurt JSN. You know what I mean? And when I was watching last week, I think Crookie had mentioned this too. You know what I mean? When it comes to JSN, he's playing predominantly out of the slot. You know what I mean? And that's where we get that lovely, cheap, greasy fantasy production when you got a shorter A dot. You know what I mean? And you catching everything close to the vest, 9-yard A dot, that's cool. You know what I mean? And he could pop a big one, but now a pause. But then now if you're going to get him out wide more in a system that's going to be more run heavy and predicated on we might not see that pepper action so much. So I kind of hate it. I feel like they're going to cancel each other out in a lot of weeks. If you ask me, but it's a cool spot for Sam Darnold. You know what I mean? I mean, he's going to be in a system that he's familiar with. He was with Clint Kubiak. When we were all together with the gang, you know what I mean? So there's some familiarity there. I think he was like the QB coach at the time. So you know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure he had, he was like, hey, go get Sam Darnold. You know what I mean? Let's roll his dice. You know what I mean? Hey, for what it's worth, Clint Kubiak, he had Derek Carr cooking before Derek Carr died. You know what I mean? We were turning back to 200.
Right before the engine blew. But JD's thinking that JSN is going to be just fine. So, and I know a lot of people last year that had him last year are definitely going to be hoping to get the same level of production because he did end up being one of those pleasant surprises last year.
100 grabs.
Right? Yeah, and he's a guy that most people, drafted in the 6th, 7th round type of area. And to get that kind of third round, second round level production out of him was huge.
It was a post-hype value because – his rookie year is a lot of hype on him. People are drafting what they don't know. They want what's behind door number 2. You know what I mean? And then after a year of seeing it, he was like, oh, he's whack. You know what I mean? It was baked into his ADP. You know what I mean? So we definitely got him at a value last year. And this year we might be grabbing him up where he belongs to be drafted at. But grabbing him up.
You just can't help yourself.
I hope I'm wrong about that because Cup at this point, he's best suited as a slot receiver. He can play out wide, but he's not, you know what I mean? Like when you have a JSN, he's going to be the guy out wide predominantly. You know what I mean? When he literally had like 700 snaps last year out of the slot. That's a lot.
Well, he's definitely going to be getting the number 1 cornerback attention now that DK is not there anymore.
And with Sam Darnold throwing him the ball.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Gino can let it rip. I'll give that to Gino. And Gino was definitely, I think I might be wrong about this, but he's definitely close to the top 5, if not top 5 in pass attempts last year. And this is a different offense now when you have Kubiak coming in there. You know what I mean?
Mouth, did you have any thoughts on what the Seahawks did and on how you think they're going to look next year? And if not, go ahead and give us your thoughts on what the 49ers. And I know they didn't do much, but
first of all, no one cares what the Seahawks do. And first and foremost, no one gives a shit about what they fucking do. Okay? They can go fuck themselves. I mean, they did get younger. So, but, gay. Anyways, bitch ass.
They got younger.
They got younger. So, I mean, at the quarterback position, so, that's something I guess good for them. Like Homie said, that's a 1-year audition right there for him. So if he blows up, then they'll hit the drawing board and go try to draft someone this year. I mean, they'll tank for Archie if they can somehow. But which I would never cry to see freaking the Seahawks with like 2 wins. But I think that Cooper Kupp, like I said, I think they'll kind of cancel each other out with Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith and Jigma. Like they're gonna both spend time on the outside because they don't have a DK or a Lockett no more on the inside either to take the defense off the top of. So they're gonna be spending both times. I think they do a little intermixing. But definitely they'll be running the ball a lot. So I think they're both going to take a little bit of hit in fantasy. I think that's something more than both.
Yeah,
in LA. Yes, I think it's going to be a beast. You know what I mean? And in LA, it's a different offense. Like there was enough balls to be flying around for both Puka and for Kupp to kind of get 100 targets. You know what I mean? And get that close to that 100 catches and over 1,000 yards and whatever touchdowns they can get. It might be not the same. And so it'd be definitely an adjustment for him. To not be getting those 8 to 12 targets a game, and have to just deal with a 2 for 15 every once in a while. You know what I mean? And kind of just disappear. As long as he stays professional, I think he still has a couple good years, but he's definitely not the Cooper Kupp that that was winning the Triple Crown and stuff was receiving.
No, injuries derailed him pretty badly.
Yeah, for sure. He fell off a cliff fast. It usually does come out of nowhere, and when it comes quick. So
it went.
He hit that wall pretty hard.
I mean,
he definitely hit that wall pretty hard.
He's out there getting grimy. You know what I mean? So, shout out to him because it's almost like he's out there playing rugby. You know what I mean? Because he definitely gets dirty out there. You know what I mean? Cooper Kupp going over the middle, and I guess too, like, you know what I mean, with the Cooper Kupp being there, the one thing too is he is going to be a good red zone target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will see that, especially for Sam Darnold, because I call one of the nicknames. I used to call him Safe Space Sam, because he would always just throw everything short because he was always playing behind a bad line. And what do you know? Now he's behind a bad line again in Seattle. So getting the ball out quick, I think Cooper Kupp will be the greasy PPR guy. I hate that because that's what I need from all my JSN shares. Am I panicking on JSN? No. But hopefully
this sure about that?
Gets into his ADP and maybe it drops. Maybe the community starts to view it the same way where they say, okay, maybe we shouldn't spend a fourth round on a JSN, and maybe it's a fifth round. You know what I mean? Because then I wouldn't mind having JSN as like a WR3. It feels even better. He's in
We all would in any kind of league. If if that's your 30 or flex, you fucking I want to be in that league too. Save me a spot for that fucker because I
yeah, like if I'm going like running back early and then like I pop it off with JSN as my WR1, I might not feel as comfortable as I did before the Cup signing. You know what I mean? But still, though, I still don't feel bad. I still like the value we can get out of Cup and JSN. I just think that there will be a lot of times where they're going to cancel each other out. Like one might get all the catches and the other one snakes the tug, or vice versa. You know what I mean? Okay. Or it's a run heavy offense. They punch more touchdowns in, and they even hurt Sam Darnold.
And that's what I'm afraid of more than. That's what I see happening more often for sure. Is the run game blowing up, and if Walker stays healthy, he's gonna have a good year.
Because obviously, like you don't want Darnold to throw 40 times. You don't want if Darnold's throwing 40, 50 times. You guys are. I mean, Seattle's gonna be fucked. Honestly,
and you got a defensive-minded head coach, and he's doing his best to try to make that defense into his likeness. But yeah, that last year they were definitely giving up a ton of points, so they were in a lot of shootouts with Geno, and we have seen it. I mean, I will give even if I will say it's the outlier year for Sam Darnold. You know what I mean? We have seen him have to sling, but you definitely don't want him throwing 40 times a game for real. You know what I mean?
Well,
two or three. Ask Minnesota Dennis in the chat. You know what I mean? He'll tell you. You know what I mean? Some of them is coming back the other way.
But even with Walker missing time last year, Charbonnet still filled in quite well for him.
Yeah, he was good too.
Yeah. I mean, I can make the argument when you're bringing in a Clint Kubiak, you know what I mean? The running back that you're going to throw at would probably be Charbonnet. He's the more explosive one. But if you do look at Ken Walker's numbers last year and you prorate it out, like if he didn't get hurt, he's catching about 35 balls, which is pretty good. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, that's shit. Love that, actually. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough time for the Seahawks, at least free agency-wise. The Cardinals, let's go ahead and move them real quick before we get to the last team and the division. And hopefully that doesn't mean that the last, when it comes to like the NFL.
No, you're just saving the best for last.
Yeah. This guy's trying to piece some nonsense into fucking existence.
This was planned.
So the Cardinals really didn't do much in free agency. Their biggest signing was Josh Sweat on the defensive end. Really didn't do much free agent-wise on the offensive side. It was, it's definitely something that they needed to get. They needed the defensive presence.
They traded for Baron Browning last year because they didn't have any pass rush. And then they had the young kid, BJ Ojulari, Aziz's little brother. And he tore his ACL, but he was going to be like their young pass rusher. So then now they bring in Josh Sweat, who's definitely familiar. He was with Jonathan Gannon as the DC over there in Philly. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely familiarity. You know what I mean? And Josh Sweat's still fairly young. He's like 27 or whatever it is, 28. You know what I mean?
He is. On the offensive side of the ball, they didn't really get anything. So it looks like they're mainly going to focus with Marvin Harrison Jr. How do you all see him in year two with the Cardinals and with Kyler Murray? Do you see it being any better or kind of more of the same where it's a little inconsistent? 1 week he's on, 1 week he's off.
I'll go with better.
I mean, he couldn't get any worse. I mean, I guess he could get worse, but as long as McBride is the number one pass catcher, they didn't do anything else to help him out on the outside or get him any kind of help. He's going to attract all kinds of attention. So, I mean, I honestly don't see him getting too much better unless they get some kind of help or someone breaks out that they get from the draft. And right now, it's just him and McBride, and that's all they have on the offense.
And let's not disrespect Michael Wilson.
Oh my
Stanford kid. And it's funny because he actually had some random games last year because there would be so much attention on Marv. And like Marv is like, what's funny is I had a run-on joke last year. Is like whenever we would talk about Marv in the offseason, you know what I mean? I would make a case for him, but the question was, what is he his father's son? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And because that's all I was ever going on. I didn't watch any of this shit in college or anything. And then my guy, shout out to my guy Kidda, he's also out the GWN. But he just told us front and center, like, listen, Marv is garbage Harrison. He'd be the only one. I'd be like, is he his father's son? He'd be like, no.
Wow.
Everyone would make their case because we ain't seen it yet. And then then we even got to a point where remember even Kyler Murray was speaking out. Like, yeah, you know, he needs to be where he's supposed to be. Or he said he made some kind of comment. And then they started getting together. But he definitely had to air him out. That's not good too.
That's kind of funny. So Kyler Murray was somebody else watching game film and be in the right spot. That's fucking
yeah, that is funny.
And he's a big dude. So I would have, you know, we didn't really see him, you know, like be too good with the contested catches and things of that nature. Where you know he should be because he's a giant. You know what I mean? So there's definitely some room for improvement, but I still think he's not going to be a price I'll ever pay in fantasy until I really see it more. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I never gave up on Drake London, but I also never had Drake London until I started to see it. Like, I'm like, all right, yeah.
Do you think Marvin Harrison Jr.
You know what I mean?
Do you think Marvin Harrison Jr. can be a top 10 fantasy in PPR, assuming the fantasy receiver, just considering just how inconsistent he was and whatnot? But do you think Kyler Murray can be that quarterback that can get him the ball enough to where it can be top 10?
We saw DeAndre Hopkins in a Cliff Kingsbury offense with Kyler Murray, and he guarded like 30% target market share, and he was a dude for fantasy. You know what I mean? But he's DeAndre Hopkins. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, you get someone like Marv, who's probably going to get like 25% target market share because you got someone in this offense that features the tight end. You know what I mean? Their offense is, I forget the name of the OC, but he's a product of Kevin Stefanski. You know what I'm saying? Over there in Cleveland. So, you know, he runs that similar shit where the number 2 look, sometimes even the number 1 look, depending what situation, it's the tight end. So McBride is probably the only one I'm really safe to have. I don't even want Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, too, he's already kind of seen this.
Mouth, what do you think there? Because I know in our drafts, Marvin Harrison Jr. went in the first round, if not second round, in a lot of our drafts.
He went early.
Yeah,
I didn't have that much faith on. I mean, like I said, as long as McBride is still there, because I had McBride last year. Only thing McBride couldn't do was score a fucking touchdown. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, he was getting like 8 to 12 catches almost every week. So I mean, that guy was definitely the number 1.
He was.
I mean, there was balls to go around for Harrison to catch. It's just he just disappeared for like weeks on end. It was crazy. Like
he was
never involved in the game plan.
He was very sporadic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he definitely had that floor of targets. I don't think that goes away because Kyler Murray too. That line isn't the greatest, and Kyler Murray he's kind of a first read guy. And he
definitely is. Somebody wants to run around real quick. He's not gonna sit in the pocket and go do too many progressions. He wants to run away. As soon as it's not there, he's a little taller running away from the pass. So I mean, that's just the way that he is.
And going back to Marv, he's one of those ones I put on my I'm okay being wrong about list. I'm just not gonna have any. I'm okay being wrong about it, man.
Yeah. I'm not comfortable if he's my QB. He's my wide receiver too. I'm not happy with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, shit. He falls, or like say I go running back heavy, and you know what I'm saying. You know, he ends up being my WR2. I'm happy. You know, if I get JSN Marv back to back, you know what I mean?
Marv was your wide receiver 30.
See, I don't know what the temperature on Marv is too. I don't know if people like in our leagues. He's definitely like in our startups. He was steadily going in the 3-4 turnaround. And you know, we're about to fire up our 4th startup tomorrow actually. But yeah, and the 3 that we've done this offseason, yeah, he goes in it like around the 3-4 turnaround, which is great.
You comfortable making this statement that JD did, saying Deutsch is better wide receiver than Marvin Harrison?
See, but JD.
Oh man, that's
JD's guys.
Going kind of hard.
I know. I mean, he's a fellow Niner fan. I get it.
I mean, like that's hilarious to me because he was like got drafted like 3rd overall, and he's like a 4th option on the team.
Hey, you know what it is too about fantasy is like when someone's on the fraternity, you know what I mean? You're gonna love them forever because he was definitely one of them. I've been doing content with JD since 2020. I remember his Greg Dortch streaming phase. Greg Dortch, there was a couple of weeks there. I want to say it's like 2022.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah, maybe even 2021. It was one of those years where he was like he had like a nice little 4 or 5 weeks where he was streamable.
Well, guys, let me pay some bills real quick. Or actually, I think we're changing that up.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and get into the Niners there and talk about what happened with them in free agency. Obviously, as you guys know, you guys did a lot more subtraction than you did addition. How do you guys feel about the moves that they made this year as far as getting rid of the players that you did? Debo being traded. I guess you guys did bring back Juszczyk, but Ricky Pearsall, it looks like he's going to be the guy to take a big step up this year, along with Brandon Ayuk if he can stay healthy. But give me your thoughts on what they did.
I've been thinking about this a lot. You know what I'm saying? I'll go back to 2019. You know what I'm saying? When, like, you know, we weren't paying too many people. You know what I mean? We was young. You know, we had Debo in that draft, Bosa then Debo, I should say in that order. What was it? We had a young Fred Warner. You know what I mean? We brought in Quan Alexander in free agency. Like, you know, we Kittle was doing this thing. Like, everything clicked that year, but the youngsters hit. We got 12 picks, I think, now after that trade we did. Or no, I think it's still 12 picks. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like this is that big re-up, and I'm getting 2019 vibes where, you know, Ricky seems like he's destined to be a good number 2, or number 2B even. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we might still get a weapon here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not putting it past Soul Shanny. You know what I'm saying? And we got so many picks. It's like, it's, you know what I mean? We could take a couple flyers in the mid-round range. We got 2 third-round picks. We got 4 picks in the top 100. I'm very optimistic, and I don't know if that's just me being a delusional fan, but I usually tend to think like realistically. So, you know what I mean? I feel optimistic about this draft because we got it's the big re-up right here.
Ralph, are you just as optimistic as Bones is over here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just everybody was like the fucking sky was falling type of shit. You know what I mean? Like, they seen the names that were coming off the board. Debo getting traded. Debo didn't want to be there no more anyway. To be honest, there was a lot of times that's true that we're force feeding the guy. And he just wasn't coming in the backfield with the same explosion or that bubble screens. He wasn't doing anything. So like the end of the last year when we finally got eliminated, and then the fucker wanted to start playing ball. So it sucked to lose Debo. He was definitely a heart and soul player, you know what I mean? Someone started, but I think we'll miss his boombox more than we'll miss him. You know what I mean? I think that's the situation about that.
Like, we always missed. You know how many times we miss him during the year? A lot. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing too. Hey, look, Debo and Shanny, they had a great relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oddly enough, he just sends them pictures of him shirtless, apparently. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? I guess that's the thing with these. See, at least it's not in reverse, where it's like Pete Carroll, he just sees DK, takes his shirt off. Like, look.
Now, let me ask you, 49er faithfuls, what are you going to think if Ayuk leaves in a trade?
See, it's not if Ayuk leaves. You mean if we trade him? And I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, well, he's damaged goods right now. Of course, someone would trade for him, but not for
like. And right now, like, if the problem is his contract is really heavy with the guaranteed money right now.
The guaranteed money. Yeah.
So like, especially after April 1st, if they have him after that, he's going to get a bunch of roster bonuses and everything else that kicks in. So to trade him this year, our whole team would have to like really want to take on a bunch of money for him. I don't see it happening this year. Maybe the offseason.
The only team I've been seeing is New England that wants him and willing to pay the money. But
yeah,
they
but see,
have
the
the
money.
money.
That organization historically, they're going to lowball. So that we're not. I mean, look at thank God for someone like DK. Because I don't want to get rid of Ayuk, me as a fan, and I think thank God for DK because that they paid a second round for him. That fucks the market up for the Niners because now they're like, they got a second.
Yeah, because I think in the offseason they were talking about a first round in the offseason. That's what I'm saying.
And because look, if DK's getting a second, we want that.
And now he's hurt with not just the MCL but an ACL and an MCL. So I mean, the best case I think for everybody is just to keep him, see what happens. And if he balls the fuck out, then it's great for us because then, like you said, we can have Ricky Pearsall on him on the outside doing some things, and we got to stop that schedule. Honestly, like, and the cover's not fair. I mean, Fred Warner's still out there. We got Mustafa, some, the Lenore out there with for fucking Bosa still. So we got some studs still on defense to go with the coaching. I think the most important thing this year to last year is that we got actual coaches on our defense and our special teams. That's what we got killed last year. The special teams were fucking absolutely horrible. They lost us a Super Bowl because our special teams weren't supposed to be there. You know what I mean? And now
we brought in Patrick Taylor even because he was like a phenomenal like special teams guy.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
we were bad in every phase last year.
I think that defense will turn around again. I really do.
Because I honestly think like with all with all those draft picks, I think they can kind of get some good, get some good draft picks in there, and Robert Saleh coached them the fuck up, and like I definitely feel 2019 vibes. Everything's lined up right now for the Niners to have a good year. I mean, the division's not completely out of whack where there's like a super team like like Detroit or something like that. That's going to be a 14-3 or whatever. Like the Rams will be decent. I think the Cardinals will be what the hell they are, and no one knows what Seattle's going to be with with Sam Darnold there. So
I thought that was the best 49er move this offseason was Robert Saleh. That's what I thought.
Yeah, Robert Saleh and him bringing his special teams coordinator was huge. Yeah. Just those two coaches alone should just coach up the team a lot better with a lot of young kids. They had to get cheaper. They had to. They got to a point where they're always pushing restructuring. Eventually, they had to pay. They had to pay all that dead cap money came this year. They couldn't keep anybody.
The second best move was getting rid of Staley.
Yes, that fucking fucking Staley and the fucking.
What was he even doing?
The coaches were horrible last year. The coaching was horrible last year. It really was. All the way around.
I wanted to ask, with you guys also moving on and trading Jordan Mason, who came up clutch for you guys last year with McCaffrey going down with his injury and then never coming back. Do you guys think within your first 4 picks that you have in the top 100 that you're going to use one of those on the running back this year? That's a Shanahan rule. You guys get a running back somewhere in the third or fifth round. I mean, he's gonna get someone in the draft. He might get 2 of them. I mean, that's just fucking the way he does things. But
they have been tying this to the next great white hope, the Scatterbo, right?
The Scatter. I mean, I wouldn't be sad. if he
like the second round. You know what I mean?
I mean, like if he gets him somewhere like the 80 to 100 whatever round, I mean that wouldn't be too bad of a pick. I don't think. I mean, losing Mason kind of sucked, but he didn't really fit the Shanahan mold. You know what I mean? Like Gwendo's a little bit more like McCaffrey like. He's more of a home run hitter, can come out of the backfield, and he was a wide receiver in college too. So I mean, he definitely has the hands to come out of the backfield and do some other things, possibly like that Debo was doing. You know what I mean? The bubble screens and the things like that. So it did suck to lose him, but he was a free agent that they got, I think, a 5th round for. So they actually got some draft capital for a guy that they picked off the garbage heap, and he just happened to be a really good player. So I mean, that's a huge plus for him. He's going to get some start. He's going to get some time to go run and do whatever. I'm happy for that kid that he found a little paycheck and he's going to hopefully get into a bigger one.
Yeah, he's going to be splitting the ball with Jones, Aaron Jones over there in Minnesota and stuff.
So I mean, that's and he never stays healthy either. Yeah, exactly. He likes to get injured too. So
yes.
I mean, I
correctamundo.
I fully see him getting an opportunity to go out there and showcase. I mean, Stefanski's Kevin O'Connell's he's gonna know what to do with him. He's definitely gonna know what to do with him. So it's just he didn't fit scheme wise.
You said that he didn't really fit into your guys' offense, and he was that productive. So hopefully, he goes into an offense that he does fit into. He can be even more productive.
Like he just not the prototypical Shanahan made, but Shanahan will make anybody a freaking running back.
Like his Shanahan does have a type, and like CMC is like the unicorn of that type. Like he's like
I didn't see nothing wrong with him, but he's definitely not like what the prototypical Shanahan type of running back that is
usually like a 5'10", 5'11", 200-pound back. That's usually his style. But then when you go back to Trey Sermon, who was 6'1" or whatever it was, and 230, and then Jordan Mason, an undrafted free agent, same thing. He was like 6 foot, 230. He was almost trying to find this other type But you know what I mean? You still, the explosive guys are what eats. But also, I guess situationally too, because no matter what, even though we have CMC, CMC's getting older, I could see more of a timeshare. Maybe his split isn't 85-15. It's 70-30 or 65.
I mean, I would hope so, because that guy can't run him freaking 25 times out of the backfield and give him 4 or 5 catches and expect him to be there for 17 games. That was a playoff run. So I mean, that's one thing that when I say about coaching failed all the way around. Shanahan failed last year because he just would not get off his own out of his own way. You know what I mean? And he definitely needed to learn to kind of just spread the ball a little bit more, give these young kids a chance. But he was definitely stuck on, especially as soon as he came back. He ran him into the fucking ground as soon as he came right back off of 2 ACLs or two those Achilles. So that pissed me off.
The Christian McCaff strain.
So go ahead, Lee, real quick before I answer my question. Go ahead,
What
Lee.
else is going to help the 49ers is having a last place schedule, as Bogey always tells us. That's going to be a big help.
That's how I see the turnaround coming, because they literally have the easiest schedule in the NFL.
Well, I looked at the Chargers last year, had a last place schedule. We turned that sucker around fast.
Yeah, one and done.
Had a good damn head coach, too.
And went with it. So I think the 49ers can do exactly the same.
And he's doing the who's got it better than us. That shit annoys me. I ain't going to lie to you.
Oh, come on, Bogey. Come on.
It's kind of annoying. I ain't going to lie to you. It's kind of nostalgic. I mean, for the longest, I was mad at Jim Harbaugh, though, because he's the first one to give me real heartbreak.
So I want to ask you guys.
Nobody.
All of a sudden now it's.
So I want to ask you guys this real quick. So real quick, Janice, she's like, I got my first nasty look tonight because I'm listening to you all. I guess she's walking around the store, has this on her phone. Just give them a nasty look. We're taking care of business here. So
mind your fucking business, people. Mind your fucking business.
Hey, you know what I'm saying?
Fucking talking here. Lee, give him that. We're fucking talking here. Hit him with that shit. What's up with that Boston accent?
This is not for. Listen, I would imagine she's talking about adults, right? Yeah, maybe children around, but adults, mind your business.
She needs to
grab your children, glitch your fucking pros, lady, and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, real talk.
Turn it up for them so they can listen to this real quick.
Next time you hear grown folks talking, shut the fuck up here.
Absolutely.
So guys, I want to ask you. I know this may be a little unlikely, but just hypothetically, if Ashton Genty was there at the 11 pick, would you guys want to pick him as a 49ers fan and be like, get that motherfucker because he's a fucking playmaker? Or who would you want the 49ers to get at 11?
If we're going to go offense like that, I'd rather see Tyler Warren. I'd rather see that kid out of Penn State if we're going to do that.
Tyler Warren's not available, but Ashton is.
Nah, because honestly, we still need offensive line help. I mean, that depends if that kid from LSU and that kid from Texas isn't there. Like right now, because we got fucking Madden 99s on his last legs. So I mean, without Trent Williams there, that offensive line was fucking horrible. So I mean, the plan is honestly it needs to go back to getting the offensive line reworked. Brock Purdy can't be Brock Purdy if he has someone in his lap with less than 2 seconds. And that guy's precision, he has to be on time. He has to, make his progressions. He can't do that if he can't even stand up on his feet. So for me, I would love in a perfect world, maybe. But then we're talking about fucking Scatterboo, like somewhere in the 3rd or 4th round. So to me, I'd rather go offensive line. You know what I mean? And shore that side up and go get a running back. Because there's plenty of running backs in this draft.
It's a deep draft, yeah.
And Bones, what would you at 11? Would you be upset or would you want them to get Ashton if he was there, or are you with mouth and say no? Get an offensive lineman at 11.
I'm pretty firm on this. If someone like a Genty specifically falls out of the top 10, and we're the first pick out of the top 10, someone would want to move up, and then I would love that. Trade down.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trading down.
Because I'm thinking Genty doesn't fall out of the top 10, or even Warren, or Warren has more likelihood to fall out of the top 10. And then I would understand that pick if we went skill right there. Because if we go skill there, that's just You know, like for example, look at the guy we brought in free agency, Luke, whatever the fuck his name is. But you know, he was like a top 5 blocking tight end last year. So kind of shows me we want to free up for Kittle because he's going to be more, you know, we're going to get that route participation up. You know what I mean? Because he never leaves the field, but he blocking a lot. You know what I mean? So like, you know, maybe you bring in something like a Warren, and now this is the dual threat because we've seen Shanny have that in the playbook before. You know what I mean? Go big package pause with the 12 personnel. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't mind that. But with Genty, because I think there's too many things that we need that have longer shelf life. Like for example, you know, we got to go trenches. Got to go O-line, if you ask me. And
I think I have to. I think it's a must. I don't care who your running back is. If you got no holes to go through with it, they're going to do shit. So, I mean, that's just.
And the shelf life on these O-linemen, you know what I mean? Is if you hit, man, you can have a cap for like 10 plus years if you hit it correctly. Pause. You know what I mean?
So safe to say, if the Niners GM, if John Lynch, if they end up getting Ashton and not taking care of the O-line, it's going to be you guys.
Use your common sense.
No, I mean, especially because they did nothing in the free agency. They didn't have much money to spend, but there was a lot of it's very interior offensive linemen that got paid and went to, you know, wherever. I mean, Chicago knows you guys have been about a bunch of people to bring in and traded for a bunch of people. So, I mean, Ben Johnson's been smart.
We ain't talking about
us.
I know, I'm just saying it was a smart move and to kind of shirk things up before the draft comes, because then he can go somewhere else in the draft. Niners didn't do shit, so now we got to go do what we can in the draft.
But the Niners couldn't really do anything because they got to play Brock Purdy. So
yeah, that's the problem.
Here's the thing: we got to pay that man.
Exactly.
And, you know what I'm saying? And this sets up for everything that we got to do. Like this is that big re-up. We got to get young on both sides of the ball really quick with all these picks. So I feel like we got to utilize a lot of these. That's why I wouldn't even mind trading. If say even if a Warren falls out of the top 10, bro, if someone wants him that bad, well, we're moving down, bro. You know what I mean? Because we need more assets.
No,
that's kind of
about this. The Cowboys, they would love someone like Warren to fall to them. They got Lamb, then they would have their others. And Dak has a career. What is it? 8 out of his 9 seasons so far. The second most targeted position in his career is the tight end. So I feel like even if you're someone like the Cowboys, they might be like, listen here, we hear you like that Warren kid. You know what I mean? And they might move it just to one spot. Just we can get another pick out of it, and we're only moving down so many spots. I'm all for that. But if
I don't know. I kind of like the idea that Steve Young said. He's like, we don't trade shit. We don't do shit for the Cowboys. So I kind of like keeping that mindset. Fuck the Cowboys, and they can figure their own shit out.
So Keith here said Campbell's arm length is an issue. Banks had a year. He's kind of slowed down. Both can fall. The offensive tackle from Missouri looks pretty good.
Yeah, though. I think the Missouri.
Yeah.
I don't
if
think
the
he falls
49ers
past
can get the
the team
offensive
like.
tackle from Missouri. Oh, Mizzou.
Yeah, I don't think he falls past the
That's
Jets,
what Bogey
man.
wants.
Yeah, the Jets, or even yeah, I don't know. I don't think he falls past the Jets.
Well, if the Jets take Warren, then he falls. So you never know.
Yeah, I kind of need that to happen. Yeah.
Guys, did you have the next pick in your division? Team that picks is the Cardinals at 16. Any thoughts on what you see them doing with that first round pick at all? Do they go offense or defense?
I think they get Kyler a weapon.
Yeah, they kind of need to.
Receiver, another receiver, maybe.
Yeah, they do. They need a weapon.
Maybe Golden, if he's there from Texas.
If he's there,
that'll get him. He's a spinner.
Maybe Burton.
Yeah.
Golden makes sense though, because he'd be opposite of Marv.
It's all
Right.
going to depend
That's what
on
I'm
where. If McMillan, how this draft is going to unfold in the beginning, and then you see the first 4, you're going to see where McMillan goes. You're going to see because he could drop, and then it's anyone's.
I don't know. McMillan could go to Carolina.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Carolina needs a number 1, like a true number 1. Well,
Really
I
do.
guess that's the perspective though on McMillan. Is he up? Other people might have a different receiver on their big board. You know what I mean?
I like Golden. To be honest, I think Golden's the ticket.
Is that the kid? Who's the kid out of Stanford?
Golden's out of Texas.
Golden's out of Texas.
Golden's out of Texas.
Golden's out of Texas.
The kid out of Stanford, I'm not too sure of.
And living here in Texas, the Cowboys are high on Golden too.
Yeah,
they
I
really
hear about
like
that
to get
too.
him. They really do.
Jerry likes speedsters too. Jerry likes fast guys.
Well, Jerry has options. Gentry, if he does fall, could be there for the Cowboys.
Gentry's not going to fall.
But he's not going to fall.
I think look at the kid. What did the Bears say just like a week ago? They said, "Look, we didn't shirt up the inside line, so we got our options open." If that means, to me, I read between the lines. If Gentry falls to us, we might take that motherfucker and be like, call it a day. You know what I mean?
They might. I hope they go offensive line, like you guys were saying for your team as well. But just because the guys that they did trade for, they're ready and they're in their 30s already, and they're only on the team for about a year or two. So you do need to get the replacements. They're kind of almost temporaries and stuff. So
yeah, I guess it's just to get the offense, get the system going there. You know what I mean?
I'll say this: if they do go for a playmaker with that 10 spot, I think that's Ryan Poles saying he needs to win now, that he cannot afford to have another subpar average year, that the heat's on him to no, you need
to be honest, he's kind of done everything he can to put that team in a position to win now. You got the coach, you got the QB, you want to put a line in front of him. So it's time to win now. He's going to get another mulligan. That's for damn sure.
They're going to try
if Williams has a bad year or regresses, he's going to be he's going before Ben Johnson is. So
I think the Sharps would say they're a year away, but they're going to try to go for it, just like New England. You know what I mean? You got a coach who over there who has a history of winning. He's not just going to be like, all right, we're retooling. They're going to try to go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Next in your division at pick 18 is the Seahawks. Any thoughts on where they may go in the division?
O-line.
O-line to protect Sam?
Or in that aspect, another weapon. They really just have Jansen there and Cup. You know, they add a third.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they have an arsenal here. Add a nice, notable third weapon.
Everything I saw, they were very interested in it. Depending on McMillan, with Seattle was a big landing spot for McMillan, if possible, because he's a speedster. But so is Golden.
Okay.
But this is a very deep draft of wide receivers and defensive players, so and running backs. So you got your choices, but it's comparing apples and oranges. What are your needs and what do you want?
Also, cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that. I mean,
his name Witherspoon is awesome, but then they don't really have anyone opposite him.
Exactly.
He's a Michael Thompson defensive coach. You think he's always trying to do something for the defense. I mean, that's how you try to do. You try to stay young on defense, and you try to pay offense. I mean, that's just kind of the way you can't really pay. Niners did it for a while where they kind of paid everybody, and you know what I mean. But pretty much, either you're going to pay your offensive side, or you're going to pay your defensive side and try to stay young on either side of the ball if you can. So I mean, with the defensive coach, you can always give another weapon for himself.
Yeah, they need pass rush too, so I can see them maybe going pass rush there. You know, I mean, they really only got Boye Mafe and they got NWOSU.
Okay, all right. Lastly is the Rams. They did most of their stuff in free agency with getting Devontae Adams and focusing on the offensive side of the ball. So last year they picked up a stud in Jared Verse with their first round pick. Is there another guy? Do they go and look for someone to complement him as well, or do they focus on giving Stafford more weapons?
I can see them going linebacker for real.
I can see them going linebacker also.
I'll be like, that's one thing they're lacking.
I think that's the one
because they got
the 1, 2, 3 right there. Yeah,
young
that middle.
Yeah, they got Young opposite of what's his name, a Verse. So, you know what I mean? Young was a sophomore last year, so they got a young pass rush there.
They got 3 or 4 guys that are on that line that are amazing.
Yeah, they got a young defensive line. So yeah, I can definitely see him going linebacker there.
Yeah, the Rams have hit on their last 2 drafts.
I can see them trading out too.
Yeah,
I can see them trading out because they last year was one of their first round picks that they've ever had for real. Like they usually operate without, so I can see them trading out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they went from F them picks to we'll take them picks because they are another one of the teams this year that have a lot of picks in this year's draft or a decent amount of them.
Retool.
Yep. I wanted to ask before we sign off because we are getting to that mark. We saw the numbers and the paycheck that Sam Darnold got. what would you think, or if your team gave that same type of contract to Purdy, is that justifiable? Is that overpaying him?
What did he get? I don't remember his numbers.
He got 33. I think he was around 33.
33 a year.
I see. It was 105
million,
I believe it was. Yeah, I think it was
for 3 years.
Yeah, I don't think Brock Purdy's taking that money, dude. I mean, they gave him 45 to begin with, and he said he didn't sign that one either. So, like, I thought that Brock Purdy wants to be around the 55ish. I heard something about him. He wants to be past her.
Six in the front of the number.
Yeah, because like he wants to be in between Dak Prescott and Trevor Lawrence was between 55 and 60, which I don't, as a personal matter, like, I wouldn't let him see him do that. I do think the guy needs to get paid, but if we start doing that, then we're gonna have the same problem that the Cowboys have with Dak Prescott's fucking big ass contract.
This is what I've been saying. This is what I stand on. And so I'm gonna keep saying this until they don't do what I think they should do. But I think it should be the 45. So we give them 220, maybe 225, maybe even 230. But it's 180 fully guaranteed, and it's a glorified 5-year extension. But really, we got him for 4 years, solid, $45 million a year. You know what I mean? And like I think that's doable because the rate. If you hit, because I think a lot of times when you hit fools with low salary, it's the agent telling you like, oh, them players ain't gonna like that. You know what I mean? Because it's true, the players gonna be like, nah, kid, you got to get the most. But it's about you got to go to Kirk Cousins route. It's about the guarantees. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if he could, even if it's like if you get him higher, like 3 year, 3 years or a glorified 4 years, and it's but it's 50 a year. 3 years are guaranteed, and on the guarantees, it's like 150 with incentives that get them up to $180 or 200 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, as long as we're staying in the range there, because I do think, unfortunately, the Niner way is they're going to try to push them to play this one out or wait it all the way down and finally get the deal done. And it's like, but he's going to be doing the hold in and all this shit like that. Like, I hope he does an honorable thing because this is only his this is only his second full off season. You know what I mean? I hope he's not going to spend it like holding out or holding in so he can get his bag. Because I fully am confident we're going to pay him. It's just what it is. I don't know yet.
Yeah, it kind of needs to. You get your bag. I mean, he's a starting level quarterback in the NFL. You're going to get paid. That's just the way it is. I mean,
that resume, all them playoff wins, Super Bowl appearance, shit like that. Point. I mean, he come at 40 a year after he got a playoff win. So you know what I mean.
So one of the last questions I wanted to ask you guys before we get on out of here, kind of came in at the end, and I think this would be interesting if he stayed around. But do you guys think that there will be at least 3 quarterbacks drafted in the first round this year?
I do.
Got somebody saying that Dart could get drafted by the Rams and sit behind Stafford, and that would be pretty damn good for the Rams if they were able to get Dart if he was to hang around there and stuff.
I think we get 3 in the top 15. I think we get
3 in the top 15. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. What do you guys think?
There was even talks about Dart jumping Sugar Sanders, kind of like in a way. Like, so I definitely see 3, but you never know what happened. But even Miro might speak into that.
I think
Miro
is to a late first or early second.
Yeah, so there might actually be 4 in the first round, but that's just the way it is right now. Because every team that doesn't have a quarterback, and we've seen the offseason, all these teams are trying to figure out. They're still trying to wait on fucking Rodgers. You know what I mean? To see if he's going to play. That guy's fucking washed. So any kind of young kid that they can get on a 4 or 5 years for cheap, and they can hit on them, they're going to. NFL team that needs a quarterback's going to try. I guarantee you, no one's seen Lamar Jackson when the Ravens picked him up at the end of that first round. No one seen him be, the MVP that he is, and running around and doing the shit that he was doing. So I mean, that was one of those things where they went in there and they took a chance on him. So I can definitely see someone, always going to take a chance. The GM's always been looking for that hit that gold somewhere.
Bones, what were you saying? Do you think 3 quarterbacks go in this first round as well?
I mean, I think Shador could be actually the one that falls. You know what I mean?
The top 10?
Yeah, because I'm still going to stand on, Neon Dion Sr. talking about no son of mine will play for Cleveland. You know what I mean? So I feel like maybe not Shador is the one that's gonna fall, but he'll be the third one drafted. I think Dart might, you know what I mean? He might go to the Browns, bro.
Okay, that would be interesting. That would be a curveball for sure.
Yeah, it would be.
The more quarterbacks drafted in the top 10, the more of those Genty, the Warrens, and big time players get to drop down.
Yeah, those dominant are going to fall.
I honestly see Sanders going to the Raiders. If he falls and he goes anywhere, I see the Raiders doing that. You know, Aaron Rodgers and freaking another type of situation where they'll get their QB and just kind of see what they're gonna see what they have.
The Steelers at what are they at 20 or something like that? I mean,
I think they'd have to move up.
Steelers.
I think so.
Have to move up. Yeah,
I do have them going. I do have the Steelers going running back though, if they could bring in Rodgers. You know what I mean? Because then if they bring in Rodgers, I feel like they're going to go for all of it right here. You know what I mean?
And that makes sense considering they just got rid of Najee. So I mean, they're going to need a replacement.
And they drafted Najee in the first round prior to you know what I mean. So they're not opposed to doing that.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're over the hour mark. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. We like to give normally on the Tuesday show, we do shout outs and whatnot. So I want to give a chance for both you, Lee, and both you, Bogey, plug your channels. Where can the good people at the clubhouse, where can they find you guys and see you guys and stuff so they can talk to you and interact?
You can find Bogey and I on the Gen Wealth on Tuesdays and Fridays. And you can also find Bogey on Saturdays. Actually, no, almost.
Yeah, we basically every day now. We got it. We shout out to JD, my man Guccini. We on all of our channels actually multi-stream the orange juice and the blunt for breakfast.
Yeah,
and we also got our Tuesday and Friday morning show called Wake Your Game Up. You know what I mean? It's all fantasy based and essentially all your news updates for all things NFL. But yeah, and you anywhere you consume your music, Apple, Spotify. Check me out, Bogard Scott Free.
Yeah. And you'll find me on the Gem Wealth with Bogey.
Yep, Gem Wealth Net on YouTube. Yay.
And Commish, thank you so much for having me. And it was a pleasure meeting you, Mouth.
Nice, yes, sir.
Appreciate you having us. You know what I mean? Hey, you know what I mean? Hey, it felt like I was at home. You know what I mean? Even when early this fucking guy, I was like, it's San Jose shit. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
This is for both of you guys.
Hey, come back.
Yeah.
Dude, you just let me know when you have the NFC West, and it will be on fire.
Oh, Lee, for sure. Because we're going to hear with Mouth and I, we want to break down every division. Tonight was the NFC West. We will definitely go to the AFC West. And when we do, we like to bring in members of the fans of that division. So we'll definitely get your take on your division. Dude, it was a blast. It was all our pleasure over here at the clubhouse.
Salute, fellas. You have a wonderful evening.
You as well, guys. Thank you all for joining us here at the clubhouse as well. Remember, guys, to like us and give us a follow, share us and whatnot. And remember to be good, but hell, if you can't be good, damn it, at least be good at it.
This has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.